Good afternoon, everyone. It's welcome to Education Policy Committee. I'm going to, before we get started, ask Representative Fincher to open us in prayer.
If you would, bow your heads. Father, we thank you for all the good things that are happening in our state government. We thank you for the ladies and gentlemen who came today in the noon period to pray for us and met on the front steps of the State House. We thank you for those across our land who pray for us on a daily basis. And let us seek your will, Lord. Let us remember that we're here for the children for the state of Alabama and to do what is in their best interest. As long as we do that, we will, I think, stay in your will. Bless us now as we go forward, and let us have a good afternoon. These things we ask in the name of your Son, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. Thank you very much. Before we get started, does anybody have any page or guests they want to introduce? Representative DuBose.
Yes, I would like to recognize my superintendent of Hoover, Dr. Kevin Maddox. Thank you for being here. Thank you, Michael, for making sure he got here. We got a great school system, and we appreciate you, Dr. Maddox.
I'm also going to recognize my superintendent, Dr. Michael Douglas, if he would stand or raise whatever he wants to do. I don't care. And because everyone's pointing at me, I would like everyone that's a superintendent visiting with us to stand for just a moment, please. If you're visiting, thank you. Thank you for taking time to be here. Representative Baker.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I would like to bring special recognition, although we had the entire group stand up, but do have Bruton City School Superintendent Kevin Wiesman visiting with us today. Very proud of him. If you'll please stand. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Is everyone superintendent here? Then start. Representative Ross. Okay. Representative Smith. Representative Morris. Anybody? Representative Paramore.
Yeah, I have one of the best superintendents in the state, and that's Ben Baker. He's here with the Dale County School System, and I really appreciate all he does. He's been a good advisor and a friend to me since I've been elected, and I want to personally thank him for that. And close to us is Brandy White down at Houston County, so we appreciate him being here as well.
Representative Drummond.
In the absence of my superintendent, he's here somewhere, Crystal Threadgill out of Mobile. I want to represent our superintendent, who's our neighbor, and we work together from Baldwin County, Eddie Tyler.
And my apologies, Superintendent, Madam Chair. I didn't see Superintendent Tyler there. Superintendent Tyler, thank you so much for being with us. No, I just overlooked you. My apologies.
I'm going to say that I'm glad you're not all here. We'd never get this meeting done. But you are welcome anytime, and we're glad you're here right now. Representative Estes.
Well, I'm going to one-up Representative Paramore because he said he had one of the best superintendents of the state. I've got two of the best sitting right here on the front row. Dr. Vance Herron right here on the front row, Lamar County Schools. Dr. Patrick Sutton from Marion County Schools on the front. Two good friends and two outstanding superintendents.
Any other guests or pages? Thank you all for being here. We also today have a new member with us. So please, everyone, help me welcome Norman Crow, Representative Crow. And I'm going to give him just a minute to introduce himself.
Well, I'm Norman Crow. I was elected last week to represent District 63, and that's basically Tuscaloosa, a little bit of Northport. So I'm excited to be here and looking forward to working with all of y'all. Thank you.
We're glad to have you. Always glad to have good people on education policy. And now, I bet he forgot, but I'm going to ask our clerk to call the roll.
I did not forget. Don't worry about that.
I bet he thought I forgot was what I meant.
Representative Collins.
Here.
Representative Baker.
Here.
Representative Drummond. Here. Representative Crow. Here. Representative Daniels. Here. Representative DuBose. Representative Estes. Here. Representative Fincher.
Here.
Representative Gidley. Representative Gray. Here. Representative Morris, Representative Paramore, Representative Pascal, Representative Ross, Representative Smith. Quorum is present.
Thank you. Will you call the first bill?
House Bill 78 by Representative Ross.
Thank you, Madam Chairman.
Yes.
Members, of the
Floor is
committee.
yours.
So, HB 78 is a bill that would require the Department of Early Childhood Education to develop guidelines for the appropriate use of screen time media in the early childhood education programs, which includes daycare centers, daycare homes, or I would say childcare, group daycare homes, night care facilities, pre-kindergartners, and kindergartners.
Representative Ross and I have talked about this bill, and she's worked on it. And actually, Representative Drummond and I serve on a women's commission that had a study done year before last, I think, on the danger of not only children using screen time, but of their parents using screen time instead of looking at the children and talking and singing. And so I think this is very important. I'm glad that we're bringing it up. And are there any questions for the sponsor? Representative Drummond.
I am in favor of this bill, Dr. Ross, but I just had one quick question, and I just wanted to just make a good clarification and probably a little editorial alongside it. I like the bill, but you know, when the various boards of the Department of Education and the other agencies will make their policies and regulations for the child daycare centers, which are already pressed for money, will there be a cost or anything put in legislation that will help them to pay for whatever those requirements will be? Because as you know, Representative Daniels, I think a couple of years ago, passed the child tax credit, and I was happy that our body did that. But there was never, ever any money put into the budget for a child, for the tax credit. So many of our daycare centers and our child care centers are struggling. So is there any money that will be put into the budget, or will they need money to be able to implement whatever those said policies are?
I don't foresee them needing any extra funding for this. The Department of Early Childhood Education already provides extensive high-quality training for child care providers and early childhood settings. They actually have a conference every year. It's one of the finest early childhood education conferences in the country, and all of these, the staffing and the preschool teachers and kindergarten, because it is early childhood, are welcome to go to that, but they also do training in partnership with the Department of Human Resources, and they also have a partnership with the State Department of Education, particularly with their P3 program and their, it's called the Early Childhood Education Leadership Fellowship that's done through class. So I'm not seeing where there would be any additional training that would be needed, only just add this to what their subjects that they're already providing.
Well, at the proper time, Madam Chair, I'd like to give the bill a favorable report.
I appreciate that. At first, though, I want to remind everybody that on your desk was handed out a substitute. The bill that we were looking at earlier did not have the synopsis on the front, and I'll ask the sponsor, were there any other changes that you know of in the sub that we've just handed out?
No, none that I know of except the synopsis.
So we would need to first adopt the substitute. We have a motion to adopt the sub by Representative Baker, second by Representative Drummond. Are there any questions about the substitute?
I have a question.
Representative DuBose.
Okay, thank you so much for bringing this bill. I appreciate the research and time you put into this, and I'm in favor of it. I just want to make sure with the substitute I understand the time limit recommendations for under 2 and then 3 to 5. What are the hour time?
Well, under 2, there will be no time, no screen time for those under 2 years old. The other time limits that we've sort of talked about, we've decided can be covered when they do the standards, as they develop the standards.
So in other words, we're leaving that up to the school districts.
No, we're leaving that up to the Department of Early Childhood Education, the Department of Human Resources, and the State Department of Education in collaboration will develop standards for what high quality,
For ages
appropriate
3
for
to
each
5.
age. Yes, from 3 to
So
5.
because previously we had we had it in here, didn't we?
Well, we did discuss it, but that was one of the changes in the original sub.
Everybody got the correct bill. The substitute is actually at the top, has sub HB 78 at the end. Any other questions? Representative DuBose.
So Governor Ivy is good with this one.
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Madam Chair, I move to.
We have to vote on the sub. Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The sub is adopted. Now, Representative Drummond.
I move as sub to give the bill a favorable report.
Representative Morris. Okay.
So on page 3, line, I guess we'll start at 74 through 79, which have the time. So if under 2 years of age, wait a minute.
Look at the sub. Look at the
I'm on the sub on page
bill.
3. And no more than 1 hour per day of high quality adult supervised screen use for children who are 2 through 5.
That's just,
So I'm asking, I do, I'm on the sub, right?
Yes, you are. You are.
I understand your question, but you see, this is just what the national and international pediatric authorities recommend, including the American Academy of Pediatrics. That's what they recommend, and that the group that will be putting the standards together will consider this, as well as other research-based information that we have as far as how screens affect young children.
So when you say they will recommend, or is this going to be permanent? Like, just not look at, but this is making it law where they have to.
That's in the declaration part. If you look up at line 65, she's just stating what these other groups.
Yes.
This is not a part of this law.
Right.
Does that make sense?
I understand that part, but I circle back with it, because I still, even if it's under the declaration, when you go down to 78 and 79, it's still saying the same thing, but I'll circle back.
Well, okay, do that, but go to line 124.
You say what now?
Line 124.
Correct.
And if you'll see, it says that those departments, those shall develop research-based guidelines on healthy screen time practices for children birth through 5, and the guidelines shall be based on current evidence-based research and practices.
Okay.
So that it right now we're waiting to see exactly what the standards they have put in the standards. It's the standards that they're going to be held responsible for.
Okay. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Any other questions? Representative Baker.
No questions, but I would go ahead, and I know there's already been a motion to give the bill a favorable report by Representative Drummond as amended, and so I would give a second to that.
We have a motion for a favorable report of the adopted sub and a second of the adopted sub to give favorable report. Are there any other questions? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? The bill is given a favorable report.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Sub is given a favorable. Clerk will call the next bill.
House Bill 164 by Representative Ellis.
And if you're wondering, we're going to move my bill to the last so I can give the chairmanship over to the vice chair. Thank you, Representative Ellis.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, committee members. HB 164 simply removes the requirement for the University of Montevallo that the president be an educator by trade. It still suggests that, but removes the requirement. It also shortens the term limit for the Board of Trustees members from 12 to 8 years, and also changes the quorum from 5 members to 6 members. These are all requests and approved by the Board of Trustees themselves. They voted in favor of this.
Thank you very much. Are there any questions for the sponsor? Representative Paramore. Okay, we have a motion to give the bill a favorable report. Do I hear second by Representative Paramore, a second by Representative Pascal? Are there any questions? Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed?
Thank you. Thank you,
Bill is
committee.
given a favorable report.
Thank you.
Thank you. Clerk, call the next bill.
House Bill 225 by Representative Smith.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I've always been encouraged never to say this is an easy bill, but this is an easy bill, guys. With our superintendents here, they're experts on this, and having been in education, I've seen this have an effect on our staffing, and all this is doing is standardizing for the entire year for it to be a 7-day posting of vacancies. It's almost like it's in the opposite place right now. We have to post for 14 days during the school, but 7 days during the summer. Well, that seems like it has a much greater effect on children during the school year. So all we're doing is standardizing this to be a 7-day posting. Superintendents and their boards can lengthen that as long as they want to, but it just says it has to be at least 7 days.
Thank you, Representative Smith. Are there any questions? Representative Morris. Thank you. All right. Do I hear a second? The bill is given, motion to give a favorable report by Representative Morris and a second by Representative DeBose. Are there any questions?
Not comment.
Comment, Representative Baker.
And Representative Smith, you did an excellent job with this. It's not too often that a bill sponsor will normally have most of the committee members already serve as sponsors or co-sponsors on the bill. You've done a remarkable job in doing that, so I look forward to voting yes at the appropriate time.
Thank you, Vice Chair.
Any other comments or questions? We have a motion and a second. All in favor of giving the bill a favorable report, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The bill is given a favorable report. Congratulations. I'm going to give the gavel over to Representative or Vice Chair Baker. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We have before us then HB 122, which there is going to be an amendment that will be offered with that. I think there was maybe a couple of different versions on the amendment. So anyway, I do want to draw your attention to that as Madam Chair makes her way then to the mic. On that. So if you'll look and find the latest amendment, it's HB 122 and at the appropriate time, then we'll deal with the amendment, but first we'll deal with the actual bill first. But at the top on that amendment, it would be listed as XDBGTZ 7-1. If you have questions about that, the appropriate time we'll be covering on that amendment then. Madam Chair, you have the floor.
Thank you very much. Several years ago, this body passed what we called a TEAMS Act, which was to truly encourage and reward and incent our teachers to be a part of our math, our science, teachers to be a part of a program that would give them more pay. We actually have I believe it's a $5,000 incentive. We have another $5,000 incentive if they are in a hard to teach area, a different area. and another one if they're national board certified, and it seems like there's a fourth. We have all these superintendents in the room. If you went to your superintendent meeting, you probably heard about this bill because they've just got some issues going with it. And so that's what this is to do, is to address that. We really appreciate our math and science teachers. They're doing a great job. But at the bill is, and we'll get to the amendment then too, says if you look on line 80, that this contract may be offered, and this is talking about for teachers who have over 20 years of service, may be offered a contract for a period up to 5 years. And so we have looked and looked and looked at the that part of it, because it doesn't change the whole contract, just for those that are over 20 years of experience. And that's where the amendment comes in, if anyone would like to offer the amendment. Can I offer the amendment?
No, I'll offer the amendment then.
Okay.
With you being the bill sponsor, I'll go ahead and offer the amendment. But before we get into the amendment, I would like to just give a little bit of clarification in regards to the TEAMS Act. There are those, and we have a number of areas where we would love to try to sort of beef up and give, whether you call it additional compensation or stipend, whether it be special ed teachers, whether it be math and science. But this was something that we really were bumping heads and finding just an extreme shortage across the state in regards to certified math and science teachers in the classroom. And so this was an effort to try to increase that pool. So some are thinking that they say, well, why don't we do that for elementary ed? Because now even elementary ed is still facing some shortages in some areas and such. But this is not just awarding math and science teachers that is extra compensation simply because they're teaching math or science. They actually are becoming extra certified by either achieving a STEM certification or the national board in certified teachers certification.
And the additional professional development that's required as well.
Right, there's professional development required with that. So there are some things that go with that, and it's not as if it's extended then that is just unilaterally across the entire then system of all math and science teachers that are in grades 6 through 12. Actually, there's only 2 slots available from either math and science or both math. Then it's for 2 slots for every 105 students in the grades 6 through 12. So I did want to sort of make that clarification in regards to this compensation increase. It is with a specific intent to increase the pool of certified math and science teachers across the state, and been very happy to say that we've actually seen some that re-entered the field, whether it be coming from the State Department of Education, whether it be returning from community college systems and going back into K-12. And so we have seen a rather large increase in trying to accomplish our intent of increasing that pool. So with that then, so what this does on the amendment that you have before you, which I will offer the amendment and read the amendment. So first, this would be that it replaces lines 78 through 80 on page 3 with the following. So the stricken language would be all of item E, a participating teacher with over 20 years of service that satisfies the advanced contract criteria shall be offered a contract for a period of 5 years. The added language, beginning October 1, 2026, no contract shall be executed pursuant to this section for a term longer than provided in B or C, provided, however, any contract executed pursuant to this section before October 1, 2026 shall not be terminated due to this provision. I would go on to try to give a little bit of a explanation on this amendment as well. As the original bill, TEAMS Act, was being considered, it was where there was thoughts that, okay, those that might be then 20 plus years. There would be some, and I hesitantly use these words, but Mike would try to sort of game or play the system, that is trying to get their highest 3 years and such, and Mike would try to tap into that and then bail out very quickly, which would really sort of negate a little bit of the intent of us trying to increase that pool of teachers long range and such. And so that's why that caveat was placed in there originally, was for that, so that any of those that had 20 years plus, there would be, it wasn't just sort of like may, it was, well, the original wording was shall, then extend that contract for 5 years for those with 20 plus that were entering into a team's contract. So this would strike that language. This would now be equal across the entire field of teams contract teachers, so that all are exactly equal footing going forward. And this would be that they could be extended a contract up to 3 years. So that's basically the simplistic version of that, even though it seems a little complicated, but that's the intent with that. With that, then, I would entertain any questions of the sponsor or myself.
And as the sponsor, I support this amendment.
No, there's not, okay, I've offered, thank you. I've offered the amendment. I just want any discussion on the amendment.
I have a question.
Okay, Representative Dubose, you're recognized.
Okay, so I have gotten confused with this amendment. Previously, we were talking about a participating teacher with over 20 years experience. Is that no longer the case?
That's correct. We are taking out that entire language so that we just treat all the teachers the same. So if they have over 20 years of experience and they're already participating in the program, this does not affect them at all. If they have over 2 years of experience, 20 years of experience, and they want to participate in the program, then they would work that out with their local superintendent, and that contract would reflect whatever they agreed upon.
Because part of the negotiation when we originally came out with this teams things, I wasn't here, but correct me if I'm wrong because I want to understand this, was that the substantial bump in salary that they were getting for this highly needed position and highly credentialed position was going to come with basically no tenure.
Right. That is
so
part
now
of the
we're
teams.
putting the opportunity for tenure back in there.
No.
No? Okay. That's what I need to understand. This is just.
No, it would be the same. That whether you had 20 years of experience or you didn't have 20 years of experience, your contract would be based on the same information.
Okay. All right. So it could be 1 year.
It
Up to 3 years.
Up to 3 years max. Okay. Got it.
Yeah, so it does not change any of the other criteria that's a part of the original team's contract. All this is doing is that little caveat that towards the latter part of the original bill that extended, that is that for any teacher with the experience of 20 plus years, that they shall be then provided a 5-year contract. So that language would be completely removed with this amendment being adopted.
Okay.
But it does not affect the other components. That is, so teachers entering this type of contract, they are giving up their tenure. That is, knowing that they would have the opportunity then to be reevaluated up to every 3 years. Right, Representative Dubose?
I'm representing.
Oh, I'm sorry, Representative Drummond, I'm sorry. Thank you.
I was okay at first, but I am thoroughly confused now with this amendment. And I just need some clarification because I was here and I was a supporter of the Teams Act. know that it has some problems and probably needs to be cleaned up. But my first question is, so am I understanding you correctly with the amendment, not the bill, with the amendment now will open it up to all of these teachers with a minimum of 3 years. Am I understanding that?
That was the original thing, and so a minimum of 3 years.
So if a teacher has 3 years, they can now participate as well as those who may have 20 years.
Correct.
Teams contract teachers were speaking
I know teams contract. All of this is teams contract. I understand that. But my question is I'm trying to understand, because teams started out as an incentive for us to get math and science teachers in hard-to-fill schools.
Correct.
Right?
Correct.
And no, let me finish my question, because I'm old, I'll forget. The other part of that is that it was to put those teachers in hard-to-fill areas and give them this larger bump in salary. And they will have to give up tenure, right?
They will, and they will have to do additional professional development.
Well, my question, because let me just say that I think that these changes are not going to help, but they're going to make this program even more confusing, and it will probably not help us with recruiting teachers into those hard-to-fill areas, because especially those that have the 20 years already.
This doesn't change anything about any other group except for if they have 20 years of experience or more. That's the only thing it changes, and it really just puts them on the same footing as all of the teachers.
How many years will you give them on the contract if they have the 20 years and
I
they
think
decide to go on
contracts are up to what they are offered individually as a contract.
Give me an example.
Well, you could offer someone a contract that you thought was going to do a great job, and you're going to be their boss. You could offer them a 3-year contract. If you weren't certain about that, you could offer them a 1-year contract. And then it's up to them to decide, do they want to participate in that or not?
Well, tell me, how will that help us with recruitment, retention of teachers that we now have within our system?
I think
the ones coming on.
I think it's working really well. Of the ones that are coming in right now, it still doesn't apply until they've been there for 3 years. Once they've been there for 3 years and they're willing to do the extra steps that the team's contract requires, then they would be eligible to participate. This doesn't change their process at all. This simply addresses if you have 20 years or more experience. And we bounced around. I think in your package, you may have 3 or 4 different amendments. So at the end of the time, we decided, let's just treat everyone the same, and that's what it does. And we wanted to verify that it doesn't affect a contract that's in place at all. Does that clear it up?
No, it doesn't. But
okay. I tried.
I'm trying to understand what we're trying to do here. But I'm still going back to what I said earlier. Teams was designed for us to be able to get folks into those hard-to-fill schools.
Correct, still is.
But it appears that we're opening up to all of these teachers.
No,
but we're making it less. We're making it less. I don't know what the word is, but we're making it less structure for them to want to participate.
I disagree. We're not changing it for anybody except for 20 years of experience and more.
Those are our seasoned teachers.
And all we're saying is they'll be treated just like everyone else.
To the sponsor, and also, if you will.
But they're the ones who will be giving up the most. They've been in the profession for 20 years. And they're tenured. What is the motivation for them now to go under teams if you're opening
the additional revenue, the additional
Chair,
salary bonus?
I'm sorry, what?
Madam Chair and Representative,
Mr. Chairman.
Right, thank you. I need to take back control of this going forward, okay? And once again, now with this, now I was the original sponsor of this bill in the House. Mm-hmm. So having said that, I think it's been maybe a little bit understanding as to the intent. The intent wasn't so much with the hard-to-fill areas across the state as it was more so, that is, to increase the pool of certified math and science teachers in the state, because you had even systems that normally might be your systems that aren't necessarily in rural areas are hard to fill. I mean, with teachers of any field, science or math, then notwithstanding. And so that was the intent. Wasn't so much the hard to fill areas, but more so particularly with all the STEM related fields, math and science was beginning to lag behind in our state. So this was the intent, was trying to get more certified teachers into the classrooms across whatever system, whether it be hard to fill or even those that normally would not have that because they would have non-certified teachers teaching math and science. So that was the original intent. That's not to say that it was not then still with an intent that these normally do occur in those hard-to-fill areas and such, if that makes sense. So I don't know if that clarifies any at all some of your discussion.
I'll also say that it achieved what we were hoping it would. I can remember the following couple of years, math and science teachers were always our greatest need. And then those lowered in what our greatest need was around the state because we were having math and science teachers in that pool.
I have a question slash comment that I think might
Okay,
help.
all right, Representative Dubose.
Yes, Madam Chairwoman. From what I understand, the real carrot here to incentivize teachers is the additional salary.
Correct.
And that is how much?
It's $5,000 for being a part of teams and qualifying.
On up
it's
to
another $5,000, so 10 for being a national certified, board certified teacher, and then it's another $5,000 if you are in a hard to teach area with a shortage. And I think I remember the third one, but I meant the fourth one. But I'll ask: isn't there a fourth one if you are in an at-risk school?
It's 15.
The way I understand it, there is
it's 15,000
if you meet all of the. So it's up to $20,000 above your pay
annually, and so that was my point. That's the real carrot. It's a significant salary bump if you get these
definitely
designations. That's huge, and these are excellent teachers, honestly, that probably are not a bit worried about having their contracts renewed because they're fabulous, as most fabulous teachers are. Not worried because they're in short supply. So the carrot to getting them in is the money, which they well deserve, and this other is just kind of like this
puts all the teachers in the same place. Yes.
The top amount that a team's teacher would be making would be $20,000. Initially, it's going to be $15,000. That's once they attained either certification, STEM certification, which that's normally about a 1-year certification. The NBCT normally takes about 3 years, very rigorous to get that, and that would be $5,000. So if they decide to do, they can do either or. So if they do the STEM certification or the NBCT, that's going to automatically right then, they would be making $15,000 more than their normally salary matrix. Upon there, if they get the NBCT, then that's an extra $5,000 stipend, so that would be up to $20,000 that a team's contract teacher could have. So basically, you're talking about $15,000 to $20,000 for a team's contract teacher. Madam Chair, you have the floor.
Well, I agree. There were some other questions.
Okay. Representative Smith.
I want to pick at a word.
Okay.
Because it says once you've been there 3 years. Well, there is real different in school systems. One school really differs from another school within the system. Is the difficult school, or is that school system?
Which line are you on? Which
I don't
word?
know. You said it.
We're not changing any part of that, so I'm not certain where you are in that
You just
either.
said once you've been there 3 years.
Once you've been a teacher for 3 years.
Okay, that's where I am. Where is the there?
Well, and we're not changing any of that team's contract part. The only thing that this is working to change is those lines 78 through 80 about if you have more than 20 years of experience.
My question goes with, if they've been there maybe in a very rural school as compared to being at that real rural school 1 year and then moving to another school, that has no effect on it.
No, it would just still be 3 years of service.
That's the first thing. And then the other question is on another one-word
Okay.
The shall and may.
Which we're taking those out because we're deleting that whole
That whole
section
deal, because I don't want to tie our superintendent's hands, because having been a principal, I had some individuals who were very talented going to school and getting degrees, but they weren't very good teachers. And that shall would affect me a little bit there if my hands were tied.
That's why we're just deleting that whole section.
All right, thank you, ma'am.
You're welcome.
Leader Daniels, you were asking a question. I wasn't sure if that was anything you need to ask directly or anything we can clear up for you on this.
No, the chairwoman mentioned something about the impact of the last 3 years. I just want you to restate that because I was kind of confused.
I was saying that after we passed teams, previously our biggest shortage of teachers was in math and science. After teams was passed, that was no longer the greatest need around the state. Other subject matters went above that. Is that what you're talking about? Because you're still frowning.
It's not. I'll talk to you offline.
Okay.
I guess if we're only, so you're saying we're only opening up for folks that have 20 years of experience. That's the only change that you said. That's
The only change we're doing is taking that group that has been treated differently before, and we're putting them just like everybody else.
So I guess the tenure part is sort of really the discussion.
Tenure has always been included.
Even if you've been in the system 3 years. And I know that one point when we were first dealing with this, we talked about them being able to go back. If they felt that this is not something for me, you're able to go back and regain your tenure.
This doesn't change that in any way.
That's correct. Representative Gidley, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Couple of comments and a couple of clarification questions for me. First of all, one of the things that I was concerned about was the retroactive, and we've dealt with that. This last line here deals with the retroactive. If somebody's on a team's contract now, this
They
doesn't
have a
affect them
contract.
until the end of their contract. And then they would then also become under this once their contract ended if they re-upped again. We understand that. I was not here when teams was done originally, so I'm a little confused about the 20 years. Was that in the original? Was 20 years in the original team's contract?
If you were 20 years or more teacher, then there was a special, that East subdivision that's in your bill was added for those 20-year plus teachers. Okay. And that's the part that we're deleting so that they would just be the same as all teachers.
Okay. And we understand that when somebody comes under this, always it's been since day one, they lose tenure. Right?
Correct.
Okay, so they could be
voluntarily. Yeah.
Yes, right. Right. Yeah, they understand that when they're signing up. I understand that. Yes. So they could be terminated at any point in time if they don't meet the criteria that they need to be. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. All right. So that doesn't change. Nothing to be able to change.
Based on the contract, whether it's 1 year up to 3 year.
Okay. All right. So now, but we're doing away with any 5 year. Now it's 3. Is that correct?
It would be whatever the contract that superintendent or that principal and that teacher agreed to. It would be their contract.
Help me understand. I'm only asking this for clarification, not to be combative at all. But I know we've talked about it. You talked about it a moment ago, how effective this has been. We know that math and science is of the highest. Math and science is so important in our world today, especially with all the things we have coming into our state, math and science. And I do believe it has helped. Okay, I'm personally familiar with some of the effect teams has had. If it's been effective in the past, why do we need to make a change now? Explain to me why we need to make a change if it's been effective in the past. What is the need for making this change in this if it's been effective?
We're just wanting to make sure that everybody is benefiting the same way.
Okay.
And that's it. There's been a set-aside group of 20 years or more that have been treated a little bit differently, and now everyone will be treated the same.
So what we're saying here is that this bill here is exactly the same as the original team's contract,
Correct.
Except we're excluding the 20 years.
We're not excluding them. We're just treating them the same way.
Treating them the
as
same.
everyone.
Okay, right. Okay, that's the only differentiation is they're
Correct.
not treated differently under this bill as they were treated under the previous bill. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, good deal. Thank you for correcting me. Okay.
Yeah, I would add on that Representative Morris, I'll get you in just one moment. I would add on, so the existing team's contract will be fulfilled as is. So if they were a 5-year contract, they will be fulfilled. So if they even began just this year and they have 4 more years remaining, it will be fulfilled to its end. And so that would be, those are the only ones that have the 5-year contracts, with those with the 20-plus years that are Teams contract teachers. Whereas going forward with this, absent of that group then, once those contracts are fulfilled, then everyone would be still on the up to 3-year contract going forward, which was the original premise of the bill. There seemed to be that there was some voices from superintendents across the state in regards to Teams contract, feeling that some of those that had been awarded, their hands were tied somewhat, and that they had to offer a 5-year contract based on the original legislation that said shall. And so there were those that felt like that this teacher is where I want that discretion to make that determination, because these are the ones that actually do the observations going in and out of the classrooms and can best identify those teachers that are deserving, that is. And so that was something that the superintendents across the state in general, and then hearing from a collective voice of superintendents, it seemed to be that there was that desire, give us that discretion going forward. So that was the intent. We felt like, okay, if we toyed with whether we want to keep shall or just put may, and so we ended up deciding, no, let's just delete that entire section, that we felt like that'd be best going forward. Let's put everyone on the same level playing field in regards to a Teams contract, protecting those that have existing contracts going forward. All right, with that then, Representative Morris, you have the floor.
So if they have a contract for 5 years, and their contract is not renewed, even though they decided to let go of their tenure, can they go back into the system with their tenure, or is it just gone?
It's however the bill stated the first time, and I don't.
That would be the discretion. That would be the discretion.
Excuse me. That's how I remembered it.
Okay.
Thank you, Allison. So the thing with this, essentially, once again, identifying the Teams contract, it's where a teacher voluntarily desires, so they've got to make an expression to the superintendent or their principal, and then through to the superintendent, that this is something they desire to do, to be a part of a Teams contract. They recognizing going in that they would be giving up their tenure, that they would have some criteria to meet, steps going forward, and that would be they either become that they become STEM certified, or either NBCT then certification, one of those two. They can begin on that in the first year and working through that then up through the 3 years and such, and then once attaining that status. So they would have a preliminary contract that would be a 1-year contract, and then that could be up to 3 once they do attain their certification for the NBCT or the STEM. With that then, other questions? All right, so we still, okay, question, Representative Gidley.
I'm just going to make sure this has been such a tremendous program. I just want to make sure we don't do anything that will affect teachers from going into this in the future, because it has been great. It's been a great program. That's my only concern, is I just want to make sure we don't do anything. I come from a thing where if something is working, I don't mess with it. And but if
well, apparently,
that's my only
every
concern.
superintendent was supporting this, there's some part of it that wasn't working, and that's what we're trying to address, and trying to address that in a fair and equal way. I think the benefit, like Representative DeBose said, is the salary increase. I think all teachers voluntarily choose if they want to participate or not, and we're not changing any of those basics.
Yeah. Representative Drummond.
Okay, I'm getting a clearer picture, but I'm still a little bit confused. The program is working, is that correct?
Correct.
Why are we making said changes if the program is working? And then my second question, and I won't ask another one. I want, and maybe you or Mr. Chair interim, how is this going to help us with recruitment and retention of teachers?
This is about over 20. We're not changing anything about recruitment and retention to talk to your first question. If they come in, and they are coming in, we've had teachers like Representative Baker said that are coming back from community college to teach in K-12. There were even, I think, some assistant principals and things like that that were going back to teach math and science. Mm-hmm. And if you're a great math and science teacher, That's what I want you to do. I think that's a great thing. So this does not affect recruitment and retention at all. This only affects those with 20 years or more experience. And it's something that was requested by all the superintendents in the state. I think it was brought up at every local regional meeting. And so therefore, that part was not working. And so we're trying to address it. And that's why we're just going to treat everybody the same.
Okay, let me ask you, was it also supported by all of
I'm
the
sorry, your
teachers?
questions are up now.
Okay.
I'm playing.
Well, you know me, but was it supported by those that, I know what you said, the superintendents, and of course, I love my superintendent, but I also love my teachers, so I want to make sure I'm doing my due diligence here.
Okay.
So how do they feel? Do you have their support?
I don't
Teachers.
know. I think
Teachers.
if they don't support it, then they don't have to participate in the program. Nothing requires them to participate in a Teams program.
And it's not equal to all the teachers. So even the team's contract, then you're talking about there's sort of two separate divisions. You have the 20-plus year team contract teachers, and then you have those less than 20-plus years. So I assume your question is more directed at those that already are in contracts. That is for the 5 years that's already been offered. So once that contract is up, then they could be terminated at that point in time if the hiring then official, then the superintendent/principal, if they determine that that teacher is not worthy to continue then to be employed by that system. Now, math and science teachers are very difficult to find, and so it's very difficult, I think, for any principal or superintendent to want to try to get rid of or terminate a math or science teacher. But this was the TEAMS Act really seemed to do what was intended, and that was increase the pool of certified math and science teachers across the state. And as we've already identified, they came from different areas, some that had already been in the classroom, but chose maybe to go in administration or went another route and then returned back into the classroom because they really loved the classroom and really were great teachers in the classroom, but they do have the requirements of extra certification to be a part of that, knowingly that they give up their tenure by being a part of this voluntarily.
Well, see, none of that I have a problem with. I voted. You know, I was actually sponsored, helped co-sponsor the TEAMS Act, so I'm in favor of it. It's just these changes that I have a bit of a problem with. And I know what you've said about all the superintendents, and I certainly respect all of those that are here and those who are not here. And I have a large school system, but I also have a lot of teachers as well. And I'm wondering, is this something that is going to favor them and also be a tool for them? And that is what I'm asking. Is this is something?
I think it
because I really want us down the road to add special ed teachers to it, but that's my editorial. But anyway,
I think it treats them all the same. That's why I think it's the best move that we can make. Is this, going forward. As far as how the teachers feel, I've not gone into individuals and gone over that, but I will say their individual contract is based on what they decided and what they agreed upon, and going forward, it would be the same way.
Mr. Chair, we have the teachers union here. I don't know can they tell me how the teachers feel? I mean,
now teachers are, once again, I think we have to put it relative to the group. So you're talking about the 20 plus, because those less than.
Have their own group?
No, I'm just saying that when you say teachers, then I assume that so if you're talking about here in the voice of the teachers, those that are under the current 5-year contract, the 20 plus year teachers, I assume that's because they're the ones that are affected by this, because with this, assuming it passes, or if it does pass, then they're the ones that so once their contract then, expires, whenever it would be, absent of this legislation passing, then they could be terminated, may not be, because that's the contract they're under. They voluntarily then made themselves available to be a part of this higher pay.
Those are the ones who are under it already.
Right.
Yeah. Now, maybe I'm talking about the ones that are under 20 years, the 3.
And it doesn't affect them at all.
Right. Okay.
All right, I've asked all my questions.
We still have a few more questions here. Leader Daniels.
So is there a shortage currently?
I'm certain there are in certain places.
No, are we definitive? Do we know that there's a shortage, or are we just?
I would say, from what I'm hearing, in different places there are different shortages and all. I know I was looking at another bill recently, and what we voted on out of the House floor last week about that's how they would determine where more people would be available for that loan reimbursement based on shortages, and that would be determined by how many teachers were teaching out of subject.
And I think for me, I don't see my superintendent here, nor do I see a number of my colleague superintendents here. So I guess they didn't feel this issue was important enough to be here today.
Well, were they at their regional meeting? Because
Well, they could have sent a representative. I've not heard from my superintendent about this issue. I've never heard from any educators that have the experience of 20 years that want to be a part of the program. And so for me, knowing that and not hearing from our folks, until the bill gets to the floor, I'm gonna have to be against it.
okay.
Representative Fincher.
Mr. Chairman, we have talked a lot about math and science teachers. I just want to say that history teachers are the salt of the earth.
I agree.
Thank you. All right. If there be no further questions then so I've offered the amendment. I think that was Pascal that offered the second on that. Any discussion? All those in favor of adopting the amendment, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No. The ayes have it. The amendment has been adopted. Any further discussion on the bill as amended?
You're offline.
I would entertain a motion. Okay, there's been a motion to give the bill a favorable report as amended and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? No. All right, the ayes have it. With that then, HB 122 as amended has been given a favorable report.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, committee.
Madam Chair, as you make your way back to the podium, then I will return the gavel back to you. I would thank all the members for some extremely healthy discussion on this as we all are working towards the betterment of education for our children across the state. Madam Chair, you have the gavel back in hand.
Thank you. I appreciate all of you. It was a good meeting. I would encourage you to talk to your 20-year and more teachers. I would encourage you to talk to your superintendents. And so at that point, thank you for joining us, superintendents, and we are adjourned.